This is Minutia Men with Rick and Dave.
All right, Dave, I know there's nothing that you enjoy more than a story that embarrasses me. And I have one for you.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good story.
Oh my God, Monday, it's what, 11? This is going to be a great week. Yes, tell me.
All right, so you see that radio over there? My big Grundig radio?
Yeah. It's very cool.
It's been fixed. It's a 1955 Grundig radio. It was fixed by a friend of mine, and it works now. It's got a great sound and everything, but he had to take the entire thing over to his house to fix it.
Okay.
Because it was big. And there was a lot of stuff inside of it. If you looked at the
is there
bottom,
like a little shelf? There's like a little shelfie thing in there that you put stuff in? Sure.
Right. And, and I didn't even look what was in there. and when he brought it back to me, he had a weird expression on his face. And he goes, well, here's the stuff that was inside the radio.
Yeah.
All right.
Not the just the drawer, not the actual
Yes.
the wires are or anything, right?
Take a look in that bag.
All right. Hold on. Well, it's kind of heavy.
It is kind of big. But there's a lot of crap in
All
there.
right, hold on. Let me... All right.
Okay.
This looks like a... Is this a baby... No, this is a big diaper. Is this...
It's a giant...
Is this Landecker's big diaper
Yes.
from his...
Yes.
From his...
Yes.
When he wore that on stage.
Yes.
Very
this
nice.
is, he would do this song called Baby Boomers,
Right.
and he'd wear this giant, man-sized diaper on stage as a bit. Well... This guy who fixed it, I don't know him that well. He doesn't know anything about the history of Landecker the Legend.
Right. I don't know what you're doing there, but the radio sounds great. All right.
He handed me this bag. That's really all I wanted you to see. I don't know what else is in there.
Oh, there's a loop thing.
But I don't even know why it was in there or how it got in there or whatever. But as soon as I saw that, like an hour later,
you're like,
I immediately emailed him and explained the entire history.
Right.
I don't want him going around going,
Right.
That Rick guy, he seems normal.
He's got big diapers.
Right.
So you had a Notary Public. You had
Exactly.
Landecker did a video thing for you to get you out.
Exactly. So anyway, that's it. It's time for Minutia Men.
The following is a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie production on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is Minutia Men with Rick and Dave.
Is the guy in the neighborhood?
Yeah, he lives in Wheeling. Yeah. It's embarrassing. I really have a legitimate reason for having an adult
doesn't
diaper.
Matter. It doesn't matter.
Right.
No, and no matter now what you do in your life, just like the embarrassing death story, to this guy, you're the big diaper guy.
I'll give you another one.
Yeah.
All right. Last night I was at a comedy show here in Mount Prospect. It was a benefit for the Parks Board Foundation. And they had this comedian, and he was one of these guys that works the crowd, does the crowd stuff. And at one point, he got volunteers. He picked volunteers, and of course, I was one of them. And he made us go out of the room and get dressed up, and we came back in as the Village People, and they played YMCA, and we had to dance on stage. I was the cowboy.
You could do worse than the cowboy.
As a matter of fact, it's the best one.
Yeah, right. Because the other ones are,
So I had a look, fake mustache on, and I was out there dancing YMCA. Luckily, because of my Landecker training,
oh my God,
I've danced to that song hundreds of times.
You were yes-anding. So we went to Second City with Scott and Cindy and we were in the front row.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the show was, I don't know if I get the title completely. It was Dance Like Black People Are Watching You.
Okay.
Something like that. And it was the theme was
white boy dancing.
Well, no, it was basically about, African Americans and the culture and how they differ. It's Second City. And it wasn't really embarrassing, but I, of course, they did a game show, Do You Remember, I think it was called. And it was, and they played like Donna Summers and, Diana Roth, and I couldn't get any of them. And she ridiculed me for being, don't you remember? It's like, no, I don't remember. Sorry. So we both were humiliated in front of people we didn't know.
That's always a fun way to spend your weekend.
Well, we got to get going. We got a lot going on here. 2021, what are some of the things that happened in 2021? Do you remember?
That was the pandemic year.
Well, it was one of was one of the years. Well, you remember Afghanistan?
Sure.
Think about Afghanistan.
Okay.
What happened 2021?
Uh-huh.
Well, the Taliban took control.
Right.
Basically, right? And do you remember all the videos of the honking cars and stuff?
Yep.
And everybody's on their cars where they're waving their guns and everything. It was a time of great joy for these people.
For the Taliban.
Right,
yes.
exactly. Maybe not for everybody else, but the Taliban, that was their year.
Right,
okay.
Exactly.
Well, things may not be going so great
is
now.
the bloom off the rose?
A little bit. Fed up with a 9-to-5 grind, former Taliban fighters complain about their desk jobs and long for the days of jihad.
You remember, Ahmed, how fun that was that year?
Just a few years ago, 24-year-old Kabul resident Haziafa had his dream job. He was the lead sniper for a regiment of Taliban freedom fighters and felt fulfilled with his work. I had a purpose and a feeling of accomplishment. I greeted each day with a sense of anticipation. Usaiva wistfully reminiscence. Now he's working at a cubicle from 8 to 6, Monday through Friday, processing utility requisition forms for the new Afghanistan Taliban government.
The coffee sucks.
Right, exactly. Life has gotten so tiring, you do the same thing every day. It never stops.
Yeah.
Husaifa is just one of the many former Taliban fighters who are having a tough time adjusting to their new normal.
Yeah, what happened to the 72 virgins?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Think a little less of the 72 virgins and a little more of the 72C requisition forms that you should be sending out to me right now.
Triplicate.
Right. So they're having trouble adjusting, rather than now they're creating spreadsheets when they used to be spreading terror. Right? So now things are different. Abul Nafi, a militant who now works as an executive director in the government, said he needed to learn how to use a computer and current data processing tools for his new job. I especially hate Excel. Nafi recently told the researcher.
What? I'm with him.
Right. Fucking hate Excel. You try to auto sum and it doesn't line up. You miss one little fucking cell and all of a sudden. So now the cells are different instead of.
Oh, a different kind of cell.
It's a different kind of cell right
gotcha.
now. Unsurprisingly, office dynamics and politics have also played a role in the general dysfaction.
This really is a funny story.
With the workplace. Shireen Patwahi, a 24-year-old former staff commander who's now working in the Ministry of Economics, says, the work wouldn't be so bad if my boss didn't watch me all the time. I feel that he doesn't trust me and thinks I take too many smoking breaks. Right.
Wow.
Right. Hey, Shireen, another hookah break? That data isn't going to input itself. Why does Ali always get the Boston cream?
This sounds like a sitcom script.
Yeah, it really does. So if you, and I don't know where they're getting these people. Are they getting it on Indeed? Where are you, recruiting for? There, one guy here said, let me go back to this guy here. One guy said that he didn't have a lot to. Thankfully, Nafi doesn't have a lot of work, and he gets to spend a significant portion of his day on Twitter. We are connected to fast Wi-Fi and internet. Many mujahideen, including myself, are now addicted to the internet, especially Twitter. There's some good stuff on there.
Oh, my God.
Plus, I'm discovering some great podcasts.
Hey.
Now, he didn't write this, but I'm sure he's a big fan of Minutia Men, even though we're hosted by a couple of evil imperialists. But there you go. That's a whole market that we should be...
Fantastic. Well, you just mentioned we were doing well in Pakistan, so who knows? Yeah. Well, I've got another international story for you. This one, Associated Press, Berlin.
Oh.
The daily Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung reported
I think you said that a lot better than when I was doing the words Afghan. I think you nailed the dialect
I think
much
I did.
better.
Reported a furious ballet director, Marco Gicke, approached a dance critic, Wiebke Huster, during the intermission of a premiere at Hanover's Opera House on Saturday and asked what she was doing there. Yeah, no, what are you doing here? It's the two of them did not know each other, but Goeke had read Huster's review.
Ooh.
Yes. Oh. The newspaper said Goeke, who apparently felt provoked by the review she wrote of a production he staged in the Dutch seat of government, The Hague, threatened to ban her from the ballet. You must go out! You are out of here! accused her of being responsible for people canceling season tickets in Hanover. So, I mean, the review was so bad.
A blistering review.
Yes, it was blistering. So here's what he did, what any of us would have done.
Yeah.
He pulled out a paper bag with animal feces and smeared her face with the contents of it before making off through the packed theater foyer, the newspaper said. Huster identified the substance as dog feces and said that she had filed a criminal complaint.
Well, I would think, sure.
Yes. In a statement on its website, the Opera House said Hustler's personal integrity was violated in an unspeakable way. They are very sorry. Apologized to her immediately after the incident, which I think is the great way to do it. And Wiebke Huster does sound like she's pretty upset about this.
Well, I would think.
But throughout this whole incident, she didn't smile a single time, which is missing a major opportunity, depriving everyone of seeing an actual, honest to goodness, shit-eating grin.
I was diagramming that sentence in my head of like a smile, okay, grin. Okay, I know where this is going.
I mean, literally,
Yeah.
we had a shot at this.
And this surprises me with Germans holding grudges, because this was a review of like perhaps 14 years ago or something, right?
Very unusual. Mostly Germans are happy-go-lucky people that hug.
Yeah,
that hug.
They hug on time.
They do.
Here's a review, Ricky.
Yes.
These guys have my type of humor, and I like the Chicago references, and that was by Trudy Shue.
Trudy.
On Apple Podcast.
Why? You can rate us, you can review us, you can follow us. If you like Minutia Men, be sure to check out some of the other programs on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. You can pick out your favorite new show at opishows.com, and remember that Opie is hippo backwards, OPPIH shows.com. And those reviews, they really do help us.
Yeah, please do.
And, you may get to hear it on this podcast itself.
I forgot to tell you one line, my favorite line of the Taliban.
Yeah.
Mufaji, a 28-year-old, may have summed it up best when he sighed, "I don't even bring my gun to work anymore."
That's one of my favorite stories of the year. All right, it's time for this.
Time now for Studio Walls.
And the words of the prophets were written on the studio walls.
So, Dave, second week in a row, we've got a Beatles story for everybody. This week would have been George Harrison's birthday. He would have been 80.
Yeah.
Would have been 80 years old this week. Now, obviously, we've never
And
met.
he was the youngest. He was the youngest one.
He
right?
was. He was. Obviously, we've never met George, although I did host and produce, with the help of Vince Argento, a National George Harrison special on Westwood One Network.
Didn't I write part of that, too? Or no, I wrote the Beach
Boys one.
Okay.
Yep. But we did talk to legendary record producer and engineer Bill Schnee, who worked with George. And in fact, not only worked with George, he got to go to George's house. And that is kind of one of the wildest stories I've heard in a long time. And so we're going to share that with you again this week. This would be episode number 79, Grammy Award winning record producer Bill Schnee.
Didn't you had dinner at George's castle in England too, right? And didn't he kind of take you through the catacombs and tell that?
Yeah, he. So when we went to England, as I said, to record Paul's song, and George had come back to England as well, and so on the weekend, we took the weekend off, and he invited Richard and I to come to his castle and have dinner. And so that's what we did. And he was married to Patty at the time, and they were both vegetarians, and I wasn't. I did stop eating meat about 10 years later, red meat, which whatever. But at the time, I remember distinctly, what, they don't eat meat? That's weird.
When's the main course?
Yeah. But guys, when that meal was served, I have to tell you, I remember distinctly thinking, wow, I wouldn't care about meat if I could eat like this all the time. She was an excellent cook, and it was really special, the meal. Anyway, and after dinner, sitting around, and some certain rock stars, fellow British musicians, kept showing up, and at one point, one of them said, "Why don't we go in the catacombs?" And George said, "Why don't we?" And it turns out that the guy that built this castle, or the first owner thereof, must have been one weird guy, because under his huge property it went for, I'd like to say miles, and it probably wasn't miles, but it was a long way. I just know that he gave us all a torch and we went down under, and the whole idea of the thing was, it was sort of like a house of mirrors, except there's no mirrors. It's just a house of, tunnels that you're walking through. And they all get off, they would all get off scaring each other and me. And which is pretty easy to do if you're the least bit claustrophobic. And I didn't know until that night that I am the least bit claustrophobic.
I am too.
And it was wild. And I know it was going around every turn. You're wondering if some guy's going to jump back out and go. But honestly, the very worst one was when I went. I remember going around this one corner rather briskly, and there was a complete skeleton there.
Oh, jeez!
That was worse for my heart than any of the guys screaming at me or whatever.
Guys, and it was the engineer on the last album.
Anyway, when we came out. It was hysterical. Ha ha. I could not tell you how far away it was from where we had first gone in. I mean, it's just a massive labyrinth of tunnels. It was amazing.
Yeah, I just love, guys will be guys.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if you're a Beatle or
the president or
Joe Schmo.
Yeah, you're still a guy.
That's all right. Yeah, that's Bill Schnee, and sounds like the coolest house ever.
Oh, yeah. And I love the stories, stories of Minutia when we're talking about.
Right.
Everybody heard, George Harrison and his whatever, but the version of him with like a that shit. Hey, Rick, can you flop out your penis jingle?
Excuse me? Sure, I can. I'd be happy to. Just tell me when you want it.
And now. Would be
so
great.
What exactly are you looking for? You want this?
Go. Oh, yes, it is.
Penises in the news. Rick and Dave.
So there is a Discovery Plus reality TV show called Naked and Afraid. Have you ever heard of this?
Yeah, I had never seen it until this past weekend.
Okay.
I was at my aunt's house, and
she's watching Naked and Afraid.
Well, she was not happy that it was on, but my cousin, her daughter, was in town, and she had it on in the background.
Really? Well, what the show is, as its name implies, is they pair people up, usually a man and a woman, total strangers, and they drop them off in some either a desert or a jungle.
It's like Survivor with no clothes.
With no clothes on. Right. And they have to and it's 21 days that they have to build their their fire and their shelter and their whatever and their Starbucks card and whatever and they have to go together. Well,
they each get one thing they can bring, I think.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Like the one I saw, the guy brought a lighter.
Oh,
for fire, and the girl brought duct tape to cover herself up with.
Of course,
yeah,
right. You couldn't bring a knife.
Not really helping, honey.
Right. Well, Sam Moser, you know what he brought?
What?
His penis. And guess what happened to his penis?
What?
Well, he was sleeping next to the fire with his partner, and a ember went flying off of the fire and landed right on his penis.
Ouch.
Okay, so basically the ember hit his member.
Yeah.
Okay. He started screaming. The bad part of this is that there's no video yet. They're teasing this.
Okay.
They're like, okay, this is going to happen in season or episode 8. Make sure you tune in for the screaming penis guy, right? So the amber hits his penis, and he's yelled out. You can hear him yelling out, "Oh my God! Fire has hit my little soldier's helmet."
Wow, that's really...
Well, can you imagine you're in extreme pain and you're referring to your penis as your little soldier's helmet? That is really committed to that name, isn't it?
It really is. You got to be calling it that all the time.
Right, exactly. I mean, you're not going to just flop that out when it's on fire unless you've used it before. So in the video, Jamberbund, which is his partner, Lily Jamberbund, calls for the on-set medical staff, and that she's stifling a little laughter, don't you think?
Sure.
Right. I mean, the guy's...
Yeah.
Come on. It's funny.
Hilarious. Yeah.
It's funny. Everything is fine. He's okay. The penis works.
Good.
Okay. I mean, everything is fine. Again, this is Naked and Afraid, and this episode will be coming up shortly. This is not the first time. In fact, from my cursory little research, it appears that men's privates get kind of hurt on this show regularly.
Yeah, they're just kind of dangling. They're in the way.
And so I've sent you a video.
Yes.
And I think this is 6 seconds of another incident.
Okay.
Not this incident, but it's another.
There we go.
It's an ant. Bit my ball sack.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened, but I think he said it's an ant in my ball sack or something.
That's what he said.
So I'm gonna.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right.
There's really no redeeming value to that story.
Sure, exactly. Well, I've got a story that also has no redeeming value. This one is from England. A man in Britain, excuse me, admitted to stealing nearly 200,000 Cadbury cream eggs in what the local police are describing as an extravagant theft. See, this is one of those things. The police here in Britain,
they're kind of funny, aren't they? They're punny.
They're punny. That you can tell that they don't really consider this a serious deal,
sure.
right? The caper involved breaking into an industrial unit in Telford outside of Birmingham on Saturday, making off with $37,000 worth of eggs. The police in West Mercia said in a statement on Twitter that was riddled with attempted jokes about Easter. All right, so they're trying to be funny.
Sure.
West Mercia police has helped save Easter for cream egg fans, the police said. The man, Joby Poole, 32, pleaded guilty to charges of criminal damage, etc. You know how they found him?
No, how?
So he stole a cab, like a truck cab.
Okay.
And he hooked the trailer, the Cadbury trailer, onto the back of this truck.
Okay. So he just got the motorized part, and he goes to the
right.
He had the rig, and then he put the box behind it.
Right.
Okay.
With the logo on the side of it.
Stop me if you want 20,000 pounds of eggs.
Boy, I don't know how they found him. And the question.
So that was not an excellent idea.
No, it was not. The question is, what was he going to do with all the 200,000 eggs? I have a theory.
Okay.
All right. And it involves Anne Margret.
Okay.
Can you guess what my theory is?
Well, is it like Tommy related, or instead of
what happened in Tommy? Do you remember?
Well, she took a bath in baked beans, right?
And chocolate.
Oh, I see.
It
okay.
started with chocolate. Okay. Imagine with that much chocolate.
Oh, you can have.
It just gave me a chance to watch this scene again. Oh yeah. And for kids who have not seen this. This is Anne Margret writhing around in baked beans and then chocolate. And for you kids out there, it's a recommendation.
Academy Award win. You probably couldn't even get away with it anymore. Oh, maybe you could. I don't know.
It's much more
risque,
sexual than I remember it. At some point, she grabs a pillow and just starts humping it.
Watch Elvis video or clips from Elvis's movies.
Yeah,
there's the one with her, I think.
Viva Las Vegas.
Well, it was they sing too much conversation.
Yeah.
And there's this party going on in the background.
Yeah.
And first of all, a party I would have never been invited to.
No.
But it's just people on it's just totally sexualized and just bouncing all over the place. I don't think you can get away with it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But Anne Margret.
Northwestern
forever.
Northwestern gal, right?
I just think she's a great actress. And in this scene, the acting was tremendous. Yeah. Tremendous. All right, it's time for another feature.
A random name pulled out of Rurik's bowl of brushes with celebrities. Mixture, collection, selection, assemblage, medley, assortment, variety. Time now for Celebrity Potpourri with Rick and Dave.
So this is the part of the show where people send us in their celebrity stories, and we've established that everybody in the world has at least one good celebrity story. It's just impossible not to have one. And this week's comes in from Henry. Henry emailed me, Rick, I met someone I bet nobody else can say they met. You won't know his name, George Clayton, and I don't. But you've seen him in at least 3 things that will blow your mind.
Okay.
Right? He was doing theater in London in the 1980s when I was there, and I got to meet him after the show. He looked familiar to me, but I never would have known why if I hadn't read it in the playbill. His big break was being named the World Cup mascot for the English soccer team in 1966 because he's a little person.
Okay.
He's a little person. His next role was in the Beatles movie Magical Mystery Tour. Okay. He played photographer George, which I have seen, and now I know exactly who this is, right? But Henry had never seen that. He also had known nothing about soccer, so he wasn't really excited about either of those things. The reason I was excited to meet him was because he was one of the Oompa Loompas in Willy Wonka. When I met him, I said, "Oh my God, I love that movie." He rolled his eyes, didn't say a word after that, signed my program, and walked away. You're in the London Theatre. Right. We're not talking about the Oompa Loompas right now.
Well, I would imagine if you are a little person and you're an actor, the roles are probably limited.
Yeah.
Right? There's adult entertainment, which you could probably end up making a nice chunk of dough with. And then you got the quirky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got your munchkins. You got your
oompas. Yeah. Well, that's.
Yeah. If they do a Fantasy Island reboot, maybe, you get a gig there.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, other than that, didn't they used to, and I don't know if this is a myth, but didn't airlines back in the 70s do television commercials, and they used people that were small stature, I don't know about little people, to show how big and roomy their seats were.
Did they really?
I unless this is a advertising.
Well, you do have a master's.
I do have a master's degree, so I think just the fact. But yeah, they would bring purposely small people to show how big their planes are. It's kind of brilliant,
genius,
brilliant.
Well, so that's it for this week's
And like
show.
Donald Trump would to show how big coffee cups are.
Right.
They would use his little hands, right?
That's same hands.
Same strategy.
Special thanks to our executive producer, Tony Lasano with opishows.com. Opie is hippo backwards, OPPIH shows.com. We're distributed by Ed Silla with Radio Misfits. Great Talk Radio isn't dead. It just moved to a better place. RadioMisfits.com. And we'll be back again next week with a brand new episode of
Minutia Men.
The preceding was a presentation of Opie Productions. Find our other great shows wherever you find podcasts, including opishows.com. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?